Man, you know what really bothers me? I mean, like, what really crawls under my skin and poisons my blood is when people think they're right, but they're wrong. And not only are they wrong, I mean, being wrong isn't a crime, I've been wrong. And thinking that you're right isn't a crime either. But what really pisses me off is when people think that they're right, but they're wrong, and they are completely and entirely closed off to even the slightest possibility that they might be wrong. And they head off into conversation or debate or argument, and they aren't even there to learn. They think that all they can do is educate. That is the epitome of arrogance, thinking you don't need anything, but that you alone have a truth or knowledge to offer, thinking you're there to provide, but there's nothing you yourself might need, to assume you already know better. I mean, we live in a world where we are taught to be open-minded. Liberals are so open-minded that their brains have fallen out. But I think it's a good thing to at least be humble enough to admit and acknowledge that we as humans might not know everything about everything. You might believe you do know what needs to be known, and in fact you might. But it is a virtuous thing to remain available to the possibility that you might have more to learn. And you know what's even worse is when people are like hypocritically wrong. I mean wrong as in they blame you of being one way, whereas they are the better way. But in fact, they have it completely backwards in their minds, and they are hypocrites. Let me show you what I mean. Take a look at this. Religion is a culture of faith. Science is a culture of doubt. Okay, fine. I can agree with this. That's great. Let's look at the next picture. Science. Always doubt, always question. When challenged, replies with evidence. I agree. I think that describes science very well. Religion. No doubt, no question. When challenged, becomes hostile. I think we can all agree. We want to be on the side of science. Religion seems pretty unreasonable to me. No doubting, no questioning, not looking for evidence, just getting hostile when you're challenged. And yet when it comes to this globe Earth versus flat Earth debate, I think everybody has it backwards, at least on the globe side. Take a look at this. Take a look at science. Always doubt, always question. You know, my flat Earth conversion took less than a week, but it began with doubt and question. Not with no doubt or no question, not with religion. I might be a Christian, but I don't consider myself religious. In fact, I like to believe things that are believable. And so I was raised on the globe just like everybody else. But I mean, take a look at that. Science. Always doubt, always question. My flat Earth conversion was based off of doubt and questioning. And my globe beliefs, when they were challenged, I began to look for evidence. You know, I was sitting at home one day, probably like many of you, and I just saw the suggestion come up on YouTube, some flat Earth video, and I thought, yeah, right. But day after day, there it was, waiting for me to click on it. And eventually I thought, okay, well, how can there be this many people believing that the Earth is flat? In 2016 was when this happened. How can people think the Earth is flat? So I clicked on it. I thought, sure, if nothing else, maybe I'll get a good laugh. And then I'll go on with my day, and life will continue as normal. Well, it turns out that these flat earthers who had put together this presentation formulated all of their ideas around evidence, scientific evidence. Things that made me think, well, now that's interesting. Things that made me go, huh, well, what about my evidence for the globe Earth? And they actually had evidence for the globe Earth in this presentation that I saw, and it tore the globe apart before my very eyes. But I didn't know what to think. It didn't make any sense to me. I wasn't sure how a flat Earth could exist in space. What does that mean? Why is the Earth flat and everything else is round? I don't understand. But you know what? I wasn't being religious. I wasn't becoming hostile. It wasn't that there was a lack of doubt or a lack of questioning in my mind. I was doubting and I was questioning. Why? Because I like to be scientifically minded. Just like the description here. You can't argue with this. Science. Doubt and question, and when you're challenged, reply with evidence. There's no need to get emotionally involved. And so I went looking for evidence. I doubted and I questioned the globe, and I was skeptical, like I think a good scientist ought to be. But upon further investigation, all I found was evidence to the contrary of my own beliefs. When people went and looked for curvature, for example, the globe ought to have curvature. It is a ball after all, right? There was none. Everywhere where you've seen people on YouTube do flat Earth experiments measuring distance and curvature, there's no curvature to be found. Alright, so let's take an honest look. Let's compare the flat Earth theory to the globe Earth theory and see which category they fit into. Do they fit into science or religion? Well, let's start with the flat Earth. Flat Earthers look at the globe and they doubt and they question. Well, right there, they're being scientific. They're looking at something that we are told has been established and is already a known thing. And very skeptically, people who become flat earthers, they look at this teaching of the ball and they doubt and they question and they say, are we so sure? And so what do? They perform experiments. They form hypotheses and they perform experiments. What does that look like? Well, if the Earth is a ball, then there must be curvature. And we know that curvature is something that can be measured using math, right? And so if the ball is a certain size, we should be able to see a certain amount of curvature over a certain distance. And so dozens of people have made these experiments where they go and measure the distance between two objects or two locations, whether it's across a lake, a peninsula, small parts of the ocean, or just land itself. And everywhere you go on YouTube, you find these people posting their results and they say, hey, look, I measured from point A to point B. This is the distance between them. And there's no curvature. There ought to be this much curvature. I shouldn't be able to see point B from point A, but I do. And there's no curvature. I can see the whole way down, it's flat. And so what about, say, the motion of the Earth? Not only is the Earth supposed to be a ball, it's supposed to be spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. It's also supposed to be orbiting the sun at a certain speed, hundreds of thousands of miles per hour. And the sun and the Earth and everything in our solar system as well are also supposed to be orbiting another greater body somewhere off in space, we don't know where, probably even faster. Well, is there any evidence to believe this? Is there any reason to believe that the Earth is actually spinning? Can you feel it spin? No. So why should I believe that it is? Well, all you have to do is perform an experiment where you measure the movement of the Earth. Well, how can you do that? Has anybody ever performed an experiment to measure the speed or the motion of the Earth? In fact, no, they haven't. There is no experiment in the history of man that has ever proven that the Earth is moving. You know what people do instead is they actually look up at the stars or the sun or the moon and they say, look, see those things going by? That proves that we're moving. Just like when you're in a car and you're driving by on the street and you see buildings go by, well, you know that the buildings aren't moving by you. You're moving by them. It's relative. You're moving by, and so you see the buildings pass you through the window and you know that you're moving. But we're told that these stars in the sky are billions of years old and that for thousands of years Earth has been cruising through space and the stars haven't changed at all. There's no parallax. Parallax is when you're driving by, say, a forest and the trees that are closer to you appear to move past you more quickly than the trees that are further away from you, and the mountains behind them which appear to be hardly moving at all. And that's just it. Globe Earthers then say, well, you see, that's the point, is that stars are so far away, there is no parallax. It's undetectable. You cannot see parallax in the stars because the Earth is so far away from those stars. Well, now hold on. Why do you believe that the Earth is moving if there's no evidence for it? Well, the people in NASA told me. My textbook told me. Well, what does that sound like? Hold on. We got people telling you that something is a certain way, and you take them at their word. And you've got books, people reading books all over the world, cracking them open, reading what's inside, and going, oh, well, the book says so, and so I believe it. What does that sound like? Is that science? Is that doubt? Is there questioning? Is there any skepticism involved? Or is there no doubt? Is there no question? Is it religion? That's exactly what it is. You see, flat earthers take a look at the world around us and they say, well, I can't measure any curvature. I can't measure the motion of the Earth. So according to scientific empirical evidence, the Earth is flat and stationary. You add in with that a book that has been written through the ages to describe the world that we live in. It has a creation account of this world, and it says that there's actually a dome over the sky. And so when you go looking for evidence of the dome, what do you find? Do you find evidence for outer space? Or do you find evidence for a dome? Could it possibly be that all the stars are actually one cohesive blanket over top of us, and that's why it looks that way? Could it be? Could our eyes be telling the truth? I mean, think about it. The globe Earth religion is this. You live on a gas-covered ball surrounded by other gas-covered balls floating in an expansive and expanding vacuum that came from nowhere billions of years ago. That's the worst theory ever. Are you kidding me? You telling me that when your child asks you, Mom, Dad, what is the meaning of life? Why are we here? Is your answer actually going to be, well, son or daughter, billions of years ago, or essentially an immeasurable amount of time, which we also can't observe, nothing exploded. And from that explosion, all matter and energy was suddenly, randomly created. And eventually, somehow, non-life became life on this ball, which is covered in a gas, even though it floats in a vacuum, floats on nothing. And, give it a few million years, eventually this life became more complex. Information came from nowhere to make single-cell organisms into multiple-cell organisms. And here we are today. That's what you're going to tell your kid? That's what you believe? That is religion. There's no doubt. There's no question. There's no evidence. When you challenge these people who believe in the globe Earth, they become hostile. They get mad and they point the finger and they laugh at flat earthers and they say, you're stupid. How could you possibly believe the Earth is flat? You know why they say that? Is because the globe is so deeply ingrained in their way of thinking. It's so connected to who they are and what they are. It's part of their religion. It's their reason for being alive. You see, Christians, we don't really have to get mad because we know that God's in charge of it all. When people make fun of us for our beliefs or make fun of God, what offense can we possibly take? God is incorruptible. God is invincible. You can make fun of him all day long. I'm not going to get offended. You're wrong at the end of the day. But people who think that the earth is a ball, you challenge them. You know who you're really challenging? They're gods. They're scientists who know better. They're textbooks which are full of truth, so they think. You're insulting their religion when you say that the earth is flat. When you say, no, the earth isn't a ball. How can you believe the earth is a ball? When you try and get them to think, they become hostile. Every globe earther I've ever talked to has exhibited symptoms of religion. There's been no science. Not a single globe earther I've talked to, other than those who have been open-minded and have eventually become flat earthers, every globe earther does not exhibit doubt toward their globe system. Every single one. Look on the comments on YouTube. You'll have a flat earther say, hey man, I think the earth is flat. Here's some evidence. Check it out. You should really check this out. It could change your life. Trying to help you out here, buddy. You know what the globe earther says? Nuh-uh. I know it's a ball. For you to think it's flat, you're an idiot. I know it's a ball. I already know. You can't tell me anything. There's nothing you can educate me on this. You think I'm going to go back into the Dark Ages, the Stone Age, and think that the earth is flat? Obviously it's a ball. I know it's a ball. Neil deGrasse Tyson says it's a ball. My teacher at school says it's a ball. Obviously it's a ball. Why do you got to challenge all these people? You think you're right and all these other people are wrong? That's religion. People become hostile and they do not doubt or question. That's not scientific. You want to be scientifically minded? Question your beliefs. Doubt them. Put them to the test. That's why so many flat earthers exist right now, is because they've put this globe religion to the test. Where's the curvature? Oh, I see flatness. Where's the curvature? Let's go look for it. Oh, look, it's flat. Huh, that's weird. Well, where's the alleged motion? Where's the rotation of the earth? Oh, we can't feel it. I'm like a geological psychopath. I feel nothing. Well, that's very religious. I don't want to believe in something just because someone says it's true. I don't want to believe that the earth is a ball and that it's spinning just because someone says so. I mean, NASA already admits that their images of Earth from space, are all Photoshopped. It's Photoshop, but it has to be. Come on. You're going to trust a bunch of people who can't take an honest photograph of the Earth from space? They're supposed to be up there all the time. They're always in that stupid space station, and yet they never take their camcorder, stick it out the window, and go, look, see, there's the Earth. If they did that, man, it'd be so easy. But you got videos of them already like busted, man. They're on green screen, they got their microphone floating around, and the microphone glitches out and gets all pixelated. And so you can see why I become so frustrated, is because it is religious people claiming that I am religious, where in fact I am trying to be scientific, and yet these religious people claim that they are scientific. But there's nothing scientific at all about what they believe or about what they tell me to believe. The flat earth theory is not only backed up by observation, but also by what the Bible teaches. The Bible says that above us there is a firmament in which the sun, moon, and stars are placed, and it even says that there's water above the firmament. And what do you know? You can see in these images here that there's a ripple going across the moon, that the stars even appear to glimmer and twinkle as if they're behind some rippling water. And you've even got some weird anomaly here with the eclipse. As you can see, and look at the rest of the video, you can see that as the eclipse happens, it looks like the actual sun itself is beyond the sky, what we see is a projection. These are all scientific observations, and they should get you to doubt and question what you've been taught your whole life. But if you want to be religious, then don't. If you want to believe in the globe, you're religious. You don't have to question or doubt your beliefs unless you want to be scientific. If you want to be scientific, you should challenge what you've been told. Seek evidence. Jesus even said, "Seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be open to you." It's really not hard. You go looking for evidence of the dome, what do you see? Is there evidence for outer space? Is there evidence for stars being millions of light years away? No, absolutely not. There's none. Well, there's no parallax because they're so far away. That's what globe earthers say. Okay, so you're going to believe they're out there even though there's no evidence. It's so far that you can't see parallax. The Earth is so big that you can't see curvature. The Earth is moving in such a way based on its relative shape and size and location in the universe that you can't observe it. All of these things about the globe are religious. You have to just believe them. You either believe your scientific priests, which stand up behind a pulpit and they tell you something through the television screen and you just believe it, that's faith, or you read it in a book. And that is also faith, if you just believe what you read in the book. And they might say, "Oh, well, we've done experiments." And you say, "See, they've done experiments." But that's the point, is you haven't done them yourself. You just believe them. You believe that they're up there in space. That's taking someone at their word. If an astronaut came right to your door and you opened it up and said, "Hello, Mr. Astronaut," and they said, "Hi, I'm an astronaut and I've been to space and I'd like you to believe me." For you to just accept what they say and go, "Well, of course you've been to space, you're an astronaut." That's faith. That's religion. Is there any proof that they've been to space? Absolutely not. Oh my gosh, there are so many problems with the globe earth theory. I can't even begin. It's just, Flat earthers are the ones out there actually questioning and doubting and being skeptical, like we're taught to be in science class. It's globe earthers who are just openly, blindly accepting what they're taught without question. That's religion. That's stupid. I mean, no offense, if you want to just believe whatever, go for it. But I mean, I'm a Christian. I don't even like believe things just for the sake of believing them. I like figuring out why I should believe things. In fact, the Bible tells us, as much as we should have faith in God in the Bible, we're supposed to also be able to give an account and provide reasons for why we believe what we believe. So I mean, I'm not a Christian just because my parents told me, be a Christian. I'm a Christian because of the things I've experienced, because of the things that I've tested. I've experienced miraculous healing in the name of Jesus. You think I can walk away from that and think, well, that's a coincidence, that's not scientific? Of course it's scientific. I experienced it, I observed it, I was healed. Of course I'm going to believe in Jesus when something like that happens. But there's no reason for you to believe that the earth is a ball. There's no reason. There is no reasoning. And you're not being reasonable if you think the earth is a ball. You're not being reasonable if you turn your nose up to the flat earth theory, because the flat earth theory is very straightforward. You can't see or measure curvature. You cannot see or detect or measure motion of the earth. In fact, there's evidence to the contrary. It's so simple, you guys. Come on.